What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Jonathan with the Rideshare Panel, and I'm checking in after my very first day delivering with Amazon Flex. I'm going to tell you guys exactly how it went and a little bit about my experience. Before I get started, make sure that you're subscribed to the channel because I'm going to be dropping all the latest Amazon Flex news and techniques. So my first day went really well. The sign-up process itself took a little bit longer than expected. I actually ended up on a waiting list for a while and had a difficult time figuring out when I would actually get onboarded, but as soon as I did, it was very easy from there going forward. So what I ended up doing is I ended up picking up a block yesterday that started at 1:30 p.m. and I live in Seattle. The block was in Everett, so it was a little bit up north. I ended up just driving up that way, but in the future I will be using the destination feature with Lyft to kind of pick up a ride and see if I can monetize that drive up to Everett, because it's about 20 miles to get up there. So when I arrived, they directed me kind of to the back of the Amazon warehouse where there's a line of cars, and you pull up into the line and then you can kind of hop out of your car and walk up to the guy who's checking IDs. They don't come up to your car. You got to make sure you get out and do that. And as soon as you've done that, you can go pick out a cart full of packages that's going to be your deliveries for the day. All the carts are kind of marked by what size the block is. So I was on a 3.5-hour block and I picked up a 3.5-hour cart. The cart that I ended up picking up was loaded with packages. I mean, I filled everything up in my Mazda. It's a 2005 Mazda 3 4-door, and literally from the trunk to the front seat, everything was filled. So I was flooded with packages. There were definitely carts that had fewer packages on them, but I kind of just grabbed one and went. So I grabbed it, checked in, scanned all the packages in, and then kind of waited for the line to disperse because there was other people in front of me loading up. As soon as that happened, I was able to get out and find my first destination. So you use the navigation in the Amazon Flex app to kind of figure out where you're dropping off packages. It works well enough. It definitely gets you where you need to go, but it's not as good as Google Maps, so you kind of have to live with it here and there. There was a couple of times when the address it thought it was dropping me off on was kind of like behind a fence. So I would have to re-navigate and just kind of use my head and be logical to get myself there. Not that hard to do, but is something that you will have to think about. As far as the first experience went, I was definitely loaded with packages. I've heard a lot of people say that you might finish your block faster than how long it's expected to take. That was not the case for me. It actually took me a few minutes longer to finish, and I spent a lot of time kind of digging through packages trying to find the right one because I didn't organize them very carefully. I just threw them all into my car, and so having to load that size made it more difficult. I spent a lot more time finding packages than I would have liked to, but with that said, I did end up finishing about as much time as I wanted to, and so that block paid me $66. It was a 3-hour block, so that comes out to be about $22 an hour. And the overall amount of driving, other than actually getting to and from Everett to the warehouse, was not actually that much. They do a really good job with logistics at Amazon. Go figure, it's a logistical company. So, getting from one package to the next point was a lot of times it was the next door neighbor or someone like a few houses down. So my route was, not difficult. It was very easy to get from one place to the next, and I didn't end up spending a ton of money on gas getting from place to place. And so what I ended up doing as I got along was kind of just leaving my car on while I would go drop off packages. Because turning my car on and off didn't really make sense when I wasn't really going that far and wasn't spending that much time out of the car. A couple things that happened to me that I'll be more prepared for the next time, absolutely more prepared for, was one, my phone died, and so I came in with not a full charge but like a decent charge on my phone and thought that would be enough. But I had a bunch of apps running, and the Amazon Flex app ended up burning a lot of power because I spent time getting in and out of the car to kind of, take a photo of the package once I dropped it off at the doorstop, and to scan barcodes before you check them in. And that's kind of the process flow. As soon as you arrive to a destination, you enter that you're there in the app, and then you scan the packages that are for that destination, and then you enter kind of whether you left them at the front door or whether you left them, with the owner of the house. And I always just leave them at the front door and then take a picture because I don't want to spend time waiting around for someone to answer the door. And quite frankly, I order a lot from Amazon myself. I've never had someone actually ring the doorbell. I always see them just drop it off and take a picture, so I went ahead and went that way. But what ended up happening to me was my phone died, and it actually died twice. And not only did I have a decent charge going into it, but I have a phone charger in my car that was plugged in most of the time. But because I was spending so much time without the phone charged and taking it out of the car to go take a photo of the box after I dropped it off. The phone ended up dying, and what happened was the app, both times that it died, forgot about the last package or the last 2 packages that I had delivered, which is actually kind of frustrating because at that point, you either have to go back and take a photo and scan those packages that you already dropped off, which is just kind of weird if you're going to someone's doorstep a second time, or you have to call in to support and get them to mark it off. Now, support's pretty good about getting this done quickly. They're very responsive and they usually know exactly what's happening. So it took like 5 or 10 minutes for me to get this sorted out, but I will be going into every block with a full charge going forward and making sure that, you know, I'm not putting myself in a position where I'm going to be burning time doing something like that. And so another thing that popped up while I was delivering is actually one of the packages that I was supposed to deliver was not included, and this ended up taking me like longer than I would have liked to sort through. It took me like 15 minutes because it was at the beginning of the order and I had probably like 60 packages in the car. So I had to go through everything like multiple times to make, you know, thinking that the package should have been there. Kind of frustrating, but it is something that can happen. What I ended up doing was calling into support, and what they did is they marked it as an item return, and it was returned because it was originally missing from the order. They sorted that out. The guy that I called and the guy that helped me was, you know, very relaxed about it, and he figured it out like within a matter of 30 seconds once I finally, you know, got through on the line to him. So it ended up not being a huge issue and not something to really worry too much about, but it did take up a little bit of my time, and it is something that can potentially affect you going forward. But all in all, that first block, you know, it was a little bit frustrating. It was still pretty easy work, and I got everything done within that time frame. So I ended up getting a notification like partially through that block saying that there were more blocks available and that they were paying surge pricing for those next blocks. So I decided I was already up in Everett. I might as well, deliver more packages at that point because I had spent the gas money to get up there. So I picked up my next block, which was a 3-hour block, and that block ended up being like 12 packages, which they wanted me to drop off over in Kirkland. So that was about a 20-minute ride from the Everett pickup location. It was a little bit longer to get to my, starting destination for drop-off. But once I got there, it took like 45 minutes max to deliver all the packages. And that was a $90 block. So $90 for a little over an hour invested in it was really good for me. And, something that got me really, excited about continuing to work with Amazon Flex. So overall, I really like, out of all the rideshare apps that I'm kind of using right now, compared with like DoorDash for delivery or Dolly for helping people move, or even Lyft and Uber, I really like Amazon Flex. I'm going to be continuing to deliver for it, continuing to give you guys tips. I would say, if you are picking up blocks and you don't have a warehouse close to yourself, definitely use that destination filter with Lyft or Uber and pick up a ride up there to kind of try and monetize that time spent driving if you can. Other than that, it's really pretty straightforward to kind of start delivering with Amazon Flex. They give you a bunch of videos to walk through, which I did do myself, but I didn't spend a long time looking at them. You want to make sure that you have a charger in the car. If you don't, I'll leave a link down below. I don't know how you made it to 2019 without a car phone charger, but you should absolutely have that. You should have a phone mount, just all the basics that you need for any kind of rideshare driving. And it's really something where you can make quite a bit of money. A lot of people will pick up blocks, finish early, and then go pick up more work and pick up more packages, and you can potentially get paid more for that. So the potential to earn money within like a 3-hour block is pretty good for Amazon Flex, and compared to a lot of other rideshare apps, I think it might be the best opportunity at the moment. So stay tuned, subscribe to the channel, and I will continue to give you Amazon Flex updates.